Welcome and thank you very much for checking out my review of Memento. It celebrates its 20th anniversary this year and was of course directed by Christopher Nolan and it stars Guy Pearce, and it has aged very well. The film follows a man with short-term memory loss as he attempts to track down his wife's murderer. On the same night that she was raped and murdered, he was attacked himself, and since then he can't create any new memories. Everything just fades away. He can only hold on to memories for around 15 minutes or so, maybe even less in stressful situations. Since then, he either tattoos himself or he takes pictures with Polaroids and creates these little notes and messages to himself so he can keep track of his own investigation. This is my first review in the series of Nolan movie reviews leading up to Tenet. If you guys have followed me for a while, you know this is my favorite director of all time. And as I mentioned, Memento was his first big movie and it has aged really well. From the premise alone, you can tell this is already a pretty good story, pretty engaging, pretty enthralling. But what takes it to the next level is the structure around it, because there are two timelines in this film. There's a black and white timeline, which is in chronological order, but then there's the color sequences, which are the bulk of this film, and they are in reverse order, which basically means we start the movie at the very end. We start the film thinking we know everything that is going to come, but we don't. And that is something that already tells you that Nolan would be a great filmmaker going forward, because he doesn't spoon-feed the audience information. He trusts the audience to navigate through this very confusing puzzle, because the lens through which Nolan captures this film makes you very much feel like you're in Leonard's psyche, played by Guy Pearce, who, by the way, is spectacular in this film. He is very subdued. This is not the performance you'd necessarily expect. It reminds me very much of the type of performances that Casey Affleck can give. And apart from this film, I unfortunately have never seen Guy Pearce do something in this vein, where he has to be so subdued, so subtle at points, but giving nonetheless a brilliant performance. And precisely because you think you already know everything, because the film starts at the very end of the story that is being told, the film keeps you engaged because new information always comes out, and because you feel so damaged like the character, you're trying to put all these pieces together, and Nolan purposefully hides information throughout this film. Again, he doesn't spoon-feed you everything. He expects you to connect with the information that is indeed given throughout this film, and it's enthralling to see. The investigation that Leonard leads about his wife's murder is extremely compelling, and Nolan is always able to keep the tension. He keeps the sequences as short as possible, only for the necessary information to be given for you to connect the scene that you already saw to the scene you're watching right now, along with the black and white sequences. And they both give extremely different information. They're very different timelines. Something I love in this ending is that it can be interpreted various ways, because it is the midpoint of the story. And when you look back at the colored sequences and think about them from end to the beginning, it really doesn't let you know clearly what is going on. There are several clues in this film depending on what ending you want to believe, or at least what meaning about the ending you want to believe. Because the ending of the film is really the midpoint of the story, when the black and white sequences really connect with the colored sequences. And when you look back at them and try to think of the film in the right order, it's really ambiguous. And I do want to get into spoilers, so if you have not seen Memento, please leave and go watch it. It's seriously one of the best movies ever made, one of the most unique films ever made, and I don't want to ruin it for everyone. So in the ending of the film, we find out that Teddy has been leading on Leonard for a year after they found his wife's killer, and they did murder him. Teddy has just been feeding Leonard and leading him on for them to kill any other possible John G's. This is the catalyst for Leonard's actions throughout the colored sequences of the film. This is a very hard to believe story on the part of Teddy, because from the moment that Jimmy tells Leonard the name Sammy, it's easier to believe that Teddy was in fact the real John G and was just avoiding death by lying to Leonard for over a year. But when we get the final sequence of Leonard in the car, we get a quick flash to his wife laying on his chest, and he has a tattoo that is nowhere to be seen at any other point in the film saying, "I've done it." Again, this "I've done it" can be interpreted in different ways. Has he connected his life? Is he now able to have memories and remember everything? Is that what he's done? Or did he find the real John G? Is that what he's done? Neither of these two endings can be believed as a fact, though, because there's a quick moment in the black and white sequences where you can see Sammy Jenkins when he's institutionalized and the doctor passes by him, and then we see Leonard sitting where he's at. There are moments where you can believe that Sammy was really Leonard, and Sammy is just a character that he's created to process his guilt about killing his wife with the insulin shot. Another thing that makes you doubt just basically everything that you want to believe about this film is that it is a neo-noir. It is very much a noir film. We have the unreliable narrator. This is a man who has very short memory loss, who doesn't remember anything exactly, and is trying in a very convoluted manner, purposefully very convoluted manner and part of Nolan, to have a semblance of a life, to condition himself to believe this, to close his eyes and believe that the world is still going on outside of him, of his own life. But because he is the narrator, you can't be really sure about anything, about the visions, about what he says, about what he believes, about what he wants to do. This is a film that can be interpreted in many different ways. To this day, 20 years later, it's still being interpreted in many different ways. Not only by myself, but by many other cinephiles. This is a film that very much stands the test of time. It is inventive. It is wholly original and creative in the way it structures the story, in the way it trusts the audience. To this day, I don't really know any other films like Memento. And that is one of the many reasons that put Christopher Nolan on the map and allowed him to get the Batman job and allowed him to have such a say when it comes to his films, even till today. Because despite working with big studios and bringing out tentpole blockbusters, he still has a lot of say when it comes to the distribution, the release, and everything going on in his films. Because he has a clear, defined, and unique voice when it comes to his films, and Memento is just one brilliant first example of that. I'm giving Memento an A+. Now let me know in the comments below what you thought of Memento, my beautiful geekies. How was your first experience with it? Has it grown on you ever since you rewatched it a couple more times? Let me know all that in the comments below, and stay tuned for many more Nolan reviews coming up until Tenet, and many other reviews outside of Nolan. Thank you so much for watching. You are the best. So until the next video, stay beautiful, stay geeky, and don't forget to subscribe and like the video because it really helps me and the channel out, but most importantly, above everything else, forever and always, love each other and love the movies.